Welcome to the Howard's Chronicles. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
I'm exhausted. I'm actually frustrated because of everything that we just did.
You survived.
We survived. We've got a tradition here.
Okay.
First of all, let me just do this. This will be our timer.
Oh, okay.
So we need to have this conversation exactly for an hour.
It reminds me of.
I know what you're gonna say.
In fact, I'm revealing my age. Let me leave it.
Ooh, let me leave it. Let me put it here. Yes, like sense through the hourglass, and so are the days of our lives.
Hence, I said, let's leave it because now I'm gonna have to be exposed.
What are you saying about me? Are you saying I'm old?
Wow.
We've got a tradition in this house.
Okay.
I've got 3 special people that gave you questions.
Oh.
So before we start, there's a bowl there and there's papers with those questions. I just want you to pick any of them,
Okay.
and then you read out loud and answer as per the question. Can you do that?
Okay. Where are the people from? I picked
one is
all three.
Two are in Durban actually,
Okay.
and one is based in Johannesburg.
Oh, okay. How are you?
Oh wow! Is that the question? How are you?
How are you? That's the question.
So I had the privilege of seeing the questions before you
Okay.
got here.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was actually hoping that you'd get that question. Because oftentimes when we are asked how we are, we don't answer honestly. So I hope you'll be honest.
I'll try. Can I say something before I respond?
Go ahead.
A colleague of mine that hi Unjani.
Mm.
And then by the time I respond, he's gone. I called him back. I'm like, no, this Joburg tendencies. Hi, Unjani. You wait for me to respond.
Yes.
Then you go. It's like you just passing the bag,
Yeah.
But anyway, honestly, I'm okay. I'm alive. I wouldn't say I'm good.
Mm.
There was a wellness session we had yesterday at work, and they said choose a color or an animal that describes how you feel now, not an animal that you identify with. And I said, the way I'm feeling now, I'm identifying with a chameleon.
Chameleon?
And the reason was like, chameleon? I'm like, I don't want to be seen. I feel like being there, but I don't want to be seen. So if I'm here, I want to blend with this wall. I don't want to stand out. That's how I'm feeling at the moment.
Interesting. Why? Why is that a thing for you?
It's not a thing. It's now how I'm feeling at the moment. I just want to be in my corner. I don't want to be alone per se, but I don't want any attention on myself. That's how my emotions are at the moment. I'm exhausted, and I just want to exist and be part of the furniture type of thing.
Okay. We'll have this discussion after the recording.
All right.
Your name is very unique. I don't know of any other Mbuzwana. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah.
It's the first time I meet somebody with this name, and I think it's beautiful, although I don't know what the meaning behind it is.
Okay, that's interesting. Look, even in the Xhosa communities, Ndombo something, because loosely translated is girl of, depending on whatever the end is. So it's not anything unique, but mine specifically, Uzuko is glory.
Oh.
So basically, if you had to translate it, it's girl of glory.
Girl of glory.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I can guess. I think your grandparents named you. One of your grandparents.
My grandmother.
I knew it.
Interesting enough. My dad, there was only 2 boys in his family, and they were like, I have about 6 aunts. So my dad is the second last born, and then the other boy or man is the firstborn. So I'm his firstborn. So when my mother gave birth, they were here in PE. My grandmother was in Glenmore. Glenmore is close to Paddy. So apparently, my cousin, a son to my aunt, was given this name. So he put it apparently in his pocket. So now my mother wants to drip a certificate. Where is this name? And then he couldn't find this name. Eventually he found it. Ombozoko. And then my mother was like, Ombozoko. But there's nothing she could have done. So she had to
And then you went to
accept that.
Mbuzwana.
And that's the end of it.
That's a beautiful name.
Yeah. That's the end of it.
Okay, so I've heard of King of Glory when we refer to Jesus.
Okay.
I wonder that makes you Queen of Glory or Princess of
Probably
Glory.
princess. I would not be right next to him.
And
Not
so
necessarily. Yeah.
you just mentioned that even within the Xhosa culture, the assumption is that you're from the Eastern Cape.
Yes, I am born and bred in PE. Interesting enough, people who stay in PE would have what we call the lollies. In December, they would go to what is formerly known as a Ciskei or Transkei, Dudwa, Bizana, and all those
What
villages.
is the Ciskei now?
I don't know what it is, but I'm intentionally saying former because people say, why do you still refer to Ciskei and Transkei? I'm like, I'm not meaning anything bad about it, but that's how it is. It's just it was like that before. So I was born and bred in PE, and we don't have any lollies that we go to in December.
It's how you use the term lollies. I've got this friend of mine. He's a psychologist, Johannesburg based, and I always tease him that comes from the Laos. He hates it. He hates it so much. He's from East London.
Okay.
So the comparison would be between Port Elizabeth, now Gqeberha, and East London. And I would be saying, how is it in the Laos? And he would start coming at me.
And I'm consciously raising that because it's an assumption in the Eastern Cape. Okay, we're in PE, but they would, even if when a person is introducing themselves, and all of that. So Lipikaya. PE? No, I mean like Kaya, you know? Yes. I'm like, oh, my father was born in Craddock, but there's no one there. They moved. And even though my grandmother was based in Glenmore, as I was saying, in the early 90s, they bought a house here in PE.
Yeah.
So now everything that needs to be done traditionally is done here in PE in my grandmother's house. So the Kaya is in PE now. So there's no need to go back there because there's no one there.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just taken by what you're saying now, that when people ask, who are you? You know, when I answer that question now, I answer strategically.
Okay.
I don't say I'm Konisani and then it ends there.
Yes,
no,
yes.
I am the son of Mbuzwana, or I'm the son of Ronald. Those are my grandparents. And I would go on to say I hail from Kwadlange as well, which is in the north of KZN. I would talk about my mountains if we have time. If it's an elevator pitch, obviously I'm just in the sun.
But you know what? Without belaboring the point, I find that that probe only happens if you're a man.
You think so?
That's my observation.
I would argue not with the Xhosa culture. It's women that do it the most here in the Eastern Cape.
No. Women might do it to guys, but if it's a guy and a guy, obviously they would ask, so where's home, whatever. But if it's a guy to a girl, they don't really, even with colleagues, if it's let's say I'm new, right?
Yeah.
I'm a new employee, and then I'm being introduced to a male colleague. The male colleague would hardly ask those questions to the female.
Yeah.
But if it was a guy that was being introduced to him, he would go on and on asking about the originals and all of that.
Oh, okay.
Well, obviously, I'm saying it's just my observation.
But my experience is different.
Okay.
But let's move from there.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm very interested on your project, Miss Dare to Dream. Tell us about that.
Okay. The Dare to Dream Foundation.
Is it Dare to Dream?
Yeah, it's the Dare to Dream Foundation. And then the pageant is one part of the foundation.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one leg of the foundation. If I may just go back a bit, in the project started as part of our church activities. Out of the 5 people that are part of the foundation, 4 of us, 6. So 4 of us go to the same church.
Yeah.
So it was then, for the year as a youth, you've got a year plan, and then it was called Miss, the name of the church.
Yeah.
But then in 2018, we ventured out. I think 2018 was the last pageant under the church banner.
Yeah.
And then we had the foundation. It was officially launched in 2021. Okay. So while we were still under the church, it was just about the pageant. But we wanted to do it differently. Hence, we're under the church banner. We wanted to do it differently. A pageant where it's not just focusing on the slender, tall girl and all of that. But still, we were focusing on grade 11 kids. Because the prize was the metric dance dress.
Yeah.
So they become a Dare to Dream now so that they can get the metric dance in the following year.
Okay.
So at the beginning, we were strictly going for grade 11s. Okay. And then we launched it in 2021 in May, foundation.
During COVID.
Just when it, yeah, I think the conditions were relaxed a bit in 2021. So we had a beautiful launch in Blue Water Bay, where we invited some of the sponsors and potential sponsors that we thought could assist us. We have been getting some sponsors, not necessarily sponsors, but sponsorship for the pageant itself. Some parts of the, like if you saw the plant deco we got,
which was so beautiful. I thought that was super amazing.
We've always had that. I remember when one of the colleagues on Cosmetic kept on saying, I'm like, I didn't see the picture.
He invited me.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay. I think the first time was in 2018, and you're like, plant deco. I didn't see his vision. He's the one guy who's very pedantic. If he wants something, he wants something. So when you put it around the stage and then there's that smoke, it gives that ambience, But anyway, so the foundation has got the pageant leg on it, and then we also do outreach programs where we would do some CSI projects for the community. Mainly at the moment, we get clothes and we have brought them to different communities in Madabo, different areas in Madabo. So when we do that outreach, we would then cook soup and wara and ask for sponsors. And then I think we've done it about 6 times already.
Okay.
Yeah. So we reach out to people that have got unwanted clothes to hand them over to us, and then we do that. And I remember the last time, or the second last time we did it, coincidentally, because we thought we're looking for a spot to actually do this. So we parked next to the cemetery in Motherwell. So we parked and then we walked. It was Mas and myself. We're like, okay, guys, it's a new informal settlement. It's a new jondol. So like, okay, we're looking for the counselor, because most when you get and you want to check,
need permission.
So when this guy is taking us to the counselor, he's asking, what is this all about? We tell him. He says, oh, we're also running an NPO. Oh, okay. And as a result, we didn't even get to the counselor. We exchanged numbers with those gentlemen. They've got an arts NPO where they teach kids to dance, music, and all of that. Nice. As a result, when we went there, they identified a perfect spot for us. When we went there, they brought the band, they collected the people, and it was a very nice event in NU, almost close to NU 10. So that is that. And then excuse me, on the pageant side, what happens is that we have a pre-judging at the beginning of the year, where we select probably about 10 girls. So the minute the pre-judging happens, the girls get coached on different activities. We've got a pageant coach, which is the one that teaches them how to walk, how to pose, shine, all of those things. We don't want drama on stage. And then we've got a spiritual coach.
What's a spiritual coach?
First and foremost, our organization is based on Christianity.
Okay.
That's our stand. So a spiritual coach has sessions with the girls on how to coach them on how to deal with their spirituality and how important their spirituality is, and faith, and how things can actually work, whatever type of faith that you've got or belief that you've got, as much as we are based on Christianity as a foundation.
So you don't discriminate
no,
against?
we don't. Okay. No, we don't. Hence, I just wanted to declare that as much as we are, but we don't preach Jesus when we have to meet with them.
Okay.
What is important is some form of anchor that you've got. So you ensure that you actually have something that you believe in, so that you can actually have some kind of direction.
Okay.
Right? And then we've got a life coach. With a life coach, Uzumasa would have different sessions with them where she teaches them on how to deal with the ills of the society, how to deal with bullying, how to deal with and she would sometimes ask them to prepare presentations. So each person would have to prepare something, or sometimes they wouldn't even prepare. On the spot, a person would choose a topic and they must say something about that. So it builds on their confidence, and it forces them to think on the spot. So that's some of the activities that they get embarked on. But most importantly, there is also mental coaching. We've got a qualified psychologist that works with us. She's also in our church. She takes them on more sessions than anyone else. Also because she's very young, so they can relate to her as well. So she raises the current challenges that the teenagers have, and they find it easy to talk to her. And she then obviously teaches them on the coping mechanisms and how to open up to parents, because one thing that we've learned over the years, and that has been, is that these kids are not just about modeling or being part of the pageant. The Dare to Dream team goes beyond. You find that you learn about the situation of the girl, the mother's not working. Somehow we try to find if there's anyone who's looking for help, or if there's anyone who can assist one of the girls that passed their metric but they've got no funds. In the meantime, they can do hair. So let's try to assist them to get clients. Or I remember in this other year where we assisted them to start an Inuka business, for example, just to do something, because somehow they end up being the breadwinner because there's no one at home. So it's a program that goes beyond just the pageant. I think that's what I'm trying to emphasize. Okay. And as I said earlier on, ours is not just, even in the prejudging, we don't only focus on the body as your traditional pageants would, because obviously a certain size would not make it to Miss South Africa. But the whole point for us is for the girl to actually be confident, believe in themselves. And I think what we always say is that we want to change the narrative of the girl child. We are trying to give access to opportunities that would not ordinarily be available to these girls. I remember at some point we were planning a trip so that we could have a weekend away, take them to a hotel, take them to these places that if a man had to say, I'm taking you to a weekend away, they would jump at the opportunity because it's something that is foreign to them, you know. So we want to open those opportunities so that a person can actually love themselves and not be swayed easily by these sugar daddies or anything like that. I think that's why the focus probably on the girl child.
I like that you're saying that, and I think we partly touched on the second question, rather the third question that I wanted to ask. The second question for me was, what does this type of initiative serve in today's society? And I think it's all the things that you've just said now. But I want to now know, your focus is on girls.
Yes.
Where does it leave the boy child? Why are you particularly looking at girls alone?
We have had this question many times before, and we are intentionally focusing on the girl child. Okay, I think I've partly touched on it. One is that if you look at the social ills, mostly affect girls. Of course, rape and all of those things could also affect the boy child. But if you look at traditionally, you would look at the workplace, who's disadvantaged? The female. If you look at opportunities that are presented, the boy child might actually get the first preference. So we are trying to give the girl child preference. But we understand also that because of trying to fix this problem, we could be creating another problem for the boy child. We're very aware of that. So it's something that we are considering in the long run. But at the moment, we don't really have the resources, if I may be honest with you, because all of the members are people who are working full time, who do not have any assistance financially. Whatever that we do, we make means, you know. So whatever that we can do is still limited at the moment, and we do not have any negative feelings towards the boy child, because obviously they would, when we do the outreach programs, both girl and boy child actually are beneficiaries when we do the outreach programs. But the question has arisen a couple of times, and it's something that we might have to consider in the future. But at the moment, we are specifically focusing on this because, like I'm saying, we have 6 members of the team. All 6 members are from Motherwell originally. And what we are saying is that, look at us. No? Obviously, when you say look at us, we're not saying we made it. But your role model does not have to be somebody that you do not know.
Zazevini.
Yeah, exactly. I'm from a Motherwell, and you too. Mbuzwana is from Motherwell Shore Village. Uzimasa from Uzimasa and Ucoco are from a Motherwell NU11, which is previously known as Mjondolo type of thing. But now we've started this, and it's people who are professionals and successful foot in their own spaces. So don't look down on yourself as a girl child that is hailing from a Motherwell. You can be anywhere that you want to be.
I hear you. I hear why you are investing in a girl child alone.
Sure.
If you had the means, would you do something similar for a boy child?
Definitely. I've got a 14-year-old, and I know the challenges that parents would probably go through in terms of teenage boys. So if you don't keep a watch on them, they could also go the other direction. So if we had, in fact, when we have the means, we'll definitely explore that.
Okay, because I always think to myself, I see this with bursaries, with jobs, preference is given to women. And my question is always, what about the boy child? What about men? And I think what this does is to take us back. I feel like it encourages a culture of, it somewhat makes us angry as men. And the more angry we get, the more we start seeing all these violent acts in our society. For instance, if jobs are given to women, if they are given the priority, then for me, as a man who is unemployed but I'm qualified, and by virtue of my gender, I don't get an opportunity, I will hate women. I will rape you given a chance. I will rob you given a chance. I will do whatever. And my fear is that we might be seeing in the near future a period where we just have angry men because they are deprived of opportunities, because nobody seems to care about them. Nobody seems to give them this type of chances that women get.
I fully agree with you. Hence, I was saying, as much as we think we are fixing a problem, we could be creating another problem. I am fully, because then boys don't feel or will feel neglected or that they don't exist. It's not important for them to be in existence and would want to do things to actually get attention. And most of those things would not be good behavior.
Yes.
And they would, you'd find a case of a boy child doesn't see the need to study because I'm not going to get employed anyway.
Yes.
You know? So we are killing this generation while we're trying to fix this because of the previous ill. So it's something that needs attention. I completely agree with you. And as I said, we honestly don't have any particular reason not to do that given the resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that in the near future you're gonna be able to get some sort of support so that the focus isn't only on the girl child, but also we bring the boy child in the picture as well. Because I think they matter just as much. But I appreciate your efforts. I think you guys are doing
yeah, no, that's very true, Aniki, because boys lack role models, especially in the location. So their role models are going to be Brabani, who is a black. Yes, I see there's some people who actually have soccer teams to try and keep them occupied, but there isn't enough.
Yeah.
There isn't enough things or activities to keep them occupied or busy. And then they get up to nonsense, basically.
It's a tough world that we're living in. But back to the pageant. Right. Have you participated in a pageant before?
We can't. In ours or in any pageant?
In any.
No, the last time I participated in a pageant, I think I was in primary school.
Okay. Is this where the love for pageants stems from?
Not necessarily, not for me necessarily. Like I said, when it started, honestly, it was just about raising funds for the youth because it was a church activity.
Yeah.
So you submit your year plan to check, okay, what's going to bring you money? Something different, Miss OA, you know? And not necessarily just the church one that's boring. So we tried to spice it up and look for sponsors and all of that. But then we all loved the concept. Hence, we then were like, okay, let's actually make this bigger and not just about the pageant. So I honestly wouldn't say I have and I've got it's because of my love for pageant. But I know for a fact that Mbuzwana, his late mother, was all about girl development. So he's very passionate about giving back to girls. So she was a leader in her church, and she was always about all of that and making sure that they get taken care of. So for him, it's quite close to his heart because he's wanting to live and continue the legacy of his late mom.
That is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That is such a beautiful thing. I read this morning an article about how beauty pageants generally drive the concept of feminism. Do you agree with that?
Well, that on its own is not necessarily a bad thing.
I take it you're a feminist.
I would not officially call myself a feminist, but I don't even know why should I be labeled a feminist or not, or lack thereof. When you say the pageants drive feminism, okay, as far as I refer or I relate to being a feminist, I feel that the people who call people or women feminists is people who have a problem with the arrogance or the confidence that the women actually have for being a woman and fighting for the rights of the women. And then you are labeled a feminist.
But women themselves refer to themselves as feminists.
But did it originate from a woman?
I would have to look that up. I don't know. I just know that we've got a lot of women that refer to themselves as feminists. I can give you. I've had one sitting on that chair who is an African feminist.
Okay. Look, it's fine that there's, like I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've got no problem with that. But to actually say that it is driven or it actually contributes to feminism, I would not agree with that, because there's pageants for men as well. How do we then identify with that? Or how do we categorize that portion?
That's actually a very good question.
Of Mr. South Africa.
That's actually a very good question.
Because my son is in modeling. Just recently, today, there was a Mr. Teen something that was posted in the group. So traditionally, pageants were just for women.
Yeah.
But now it's quite wide. So I wouldn't agree with that statement. Let me just say.
That's very interesting. But now, when I think back, the person that wrote this article that I read, it was a newspaper article. I can share it with you. It was a university professor who is male, and he's been a professor for the past 30 years. In not even in the arts department, but in physics. He just had to share his opinion on what he thinks about these pageants. So, and this was after that lady in the States became a Miss United States or Miss America, whatever you call it. And he had a problem with that. So he had to articulate his point to say, these pageants are driving a feminist agenda. But then the question is now, is he the right person to say such?
I was about to say the problem with think pieces or articles, it's the context and what that person is trying to drive. Especially, like you say, at that particular time, it was stemming from a particular incident. You know, it's like the Bible. We would read the same verse and interpret it differently because I'm trying to drive a certain point. A simple thing about a woman submitting to a man. As a feminist, probably I could interpret it differently. As a man who's wanting to drive a certain agenda, they could interpret it differently.
Yeah.
We can't say the other one is wrong and the other one is right. It really depends on where you're coming from and the context that the person is actually setting.
I think that's a beautiful answer. I think that's a beautiful response. Again, I was talking to a friend just this morning. He's based in Australia, and we were talking about education in general. And he feels that education no longer serves its purpose because, especially in South Africa, because people don't get jobs now. You know about our triple challenge. Unemployment is one of those. And the argument was centered around that. And what I said to him, I think there's dangers in that kind of thinking, because if you are educated, you put yourself at a point of advantage in a sense that you can literally be anywhere, exist in any space globally. But in addition to that, it just changes your perspective as an individual. You appreciate this person's thinking, you appreciate this person's thinking, you appreciate this person's thinking. You know that no single argument, no single point of view is correct. All can be correct, but you just see things differently. So I love what you're saying. It's always context based, and people are allowed to have different perspectives about a single phenomenon.
What's very important, I always say this. what is always important is you disagreeing with what I think, but we tolerate each other respectfully. So I don't have to agree with you, but respect what I say.
Yeah.
And don't try to make a person feel like whatever that they believe in is not worth it. There was actually a session sometime this week where the one of the leadership members said there is no person that's got a monopoly on any subject matter. So you might think you know everything, then somebody else is going to come and tell you something different. True. You'll always learn.
True. I'm not sure if you know this lady, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She is one of the renowned feminists. She is Nigerian, based in the United States. And I was listening to one of her speeches, and she said something that registered in my head. She said, "Don't speak in a condescending manner just because you are failing to convince. You have to convince, do so without demeaning." And I think it's exactly what you're saying.
People who know me will tell you, I hate a person who's condescending.
Same here.
You have no idea.
But then I want to ask you something now. If you've seen the bigger pageants, Miss Universe and whatnot, if you were to change anything about them, what do you think you would change? What is it that you don't like about them? Is there a gap?
Oh, that's a very unfair question. It's a very unfair question because I'd have to be honest with you. I'm not one who's very pedantic about the pageant. So I wouldn't be looking at the pageant probably just to see how it is, but I do watch overall. We've seen some transformation happening over the years where, for example, the lady after Uzozi, I forgot her name, the one who had the bald head.
I almost said Fellow.
Yes, she's Venda.
She's Venda. I remember. Yes.
Even Zozi, for that matter. Where typically, like I was saying earlier on, you know that you have to be a certain height, you need a weave to actually be seen as beautiful. Let's even leave the pageant. Even now, the slay queens that are actually being seen on social media, so kids would actually identify with that in order for them to be thinking that they're beautiful. So the having a Zozi, for example, as a Miss South Africa, changed the landscape a bit. Zozi had her natural hair. The following year, the lady, I'm so sorry, the lady had.
Can you give her a name? Fulu.
Fulu.
Fulu Fellow.
Okay, Fulu had a bald head. So it then somehow, I believe that it gives some confidence to the African girl to say that I don't have to be something that I'm not in order for me to actually qualify to be there. I don't have to change my look. If I'm comfortable wearing a weave, there's nothing wrong with wearing a weave, but not because I have to. I must do it because I want to. So I really commend the shift in that. So I think it's gonna take time for it to evolve, because if we were to be honest, it was just about white ladies before, you know. And then obviously there's certain things that you must meet that you can't shy away from. There's certain criteria you have to meet because it's a certain national level. So we can't say, like us, for example, who is saying that we don't care about your size. That I accept and I fully agree with. There's Miss Plus size, there's Miss whatever. So a person can get into that category. I'm not naive about that.
But isn't that in itself sort of like causing some sort of division? Why not group people, if we're looking at beauty, why don't we look at beauty holistically, regardless of your body size?
But from being in Miss South Africa, you're gonna move to Miss World and Miss Universe.
Well, true. I mean,
and those things don't apply
it can change across.
Emotionally, I agree with you on that, but realistically, no, because you would be competing with people who are naturally in that state. Do Venezuela? It's not because obviously there might be biggish women, but generally the women in their station are actually small and tall. So I believe that if you had to open the space for everyone to take part in South Africa, somehow would be setting them up for failure if they progress to the next level, because they probably won't even make it. That's how I see it.
Well, how I view this is, if it were to change at all stages, at national level, at international level, whether world or universe.
That's fine if it were to change. It would be perfect.
That's where I am in my head.
Okay.
It doesn't then cause this division between women themselves, because I always think to myself, okay, so you've got this plus size category, you've got these slim girls, your Venezuelans. I've never seen a plus sized woman in Venezuela.
But like I'm saying, it's possible. It's I don't think there is none, but honestly, I've never seen one as well.
So in order for us to do away with this polarization, I feel like if everybody was grouped together, when we truly appreciated women for their beauty, how they appear physically, there's now Miss what? Personality, for their personality and all these other things. I think we would get to a stage where seriously they are appreciated for who they are, and not necessarily based on how thin or big you are. Another thing I wanted to say is, don't you think, it's actually a question, don't you think that these pageants promote some sort of vanity? Don't you think so?
It does.
Because we now have slay queens. And in my head, the reason why we've got slay queens is because they've been watching these beauty pageants. I could be wrong, but I think that is where it started. So if you are a beautiful woman, you present yourself in this manner, then you are here socially. And then because not everyone can make it there, let's exploit social media. For instance, let's showcase their beauty.
I don't agree with you on the slay queen one, but obviously there's no form of reference for both of us to say yes or no. I honestly don't think it stems from pageants, the slay queen era. It's a whole pandemic on its own that's brought about by the social media. That's honestly what I feel. But I think coming back before you even ask the question, on the issue of the stage being widened or the options being widened to include biggish or plus size women, I think the problem is not even there. The problem is very low, at a lower level with the community. As a big woman wearing shorts, you are comfortable in your own skin, cellulite and all, you decide to wear short things, and you'll be ridiculed. And if you are not comfortable in your own skin, you could be devastated.
Yeah.
So I think it starts from home, not even outside, not the next door neighbor, here at home. That as a mother, I believe that I cannot dress my child in a certain manner because she's big. So the mindset needs to shift drastically from it's a dynamic that needs to change from the community, from the families. We must learn to stop body shaming our kids. A simple comment, somebody says, "Oh, how old is your son?" No, he's 14. He's very short for his age. According to who? Where is the definition of a 14-year-old in terms of height? Because the minute you say I'm ugly or I'm beautiful or I'm big, you are comparing me to something else, a relative statement.
Yeah.
So the minute people learn to refrain from such, we'll live in a better community.
I agree with you.
So before we then get to them being comfortable and being accepting of bigger women in pageants, their mindset needs to change first. Because we would never get kids or ladies comfortable enough to actually walk with their big thighs on those stages because they're worrying about what people are thinking. And I think that's a bigger problem more than anything else.
Hence why I then say I think it would be good to just combine everyone together and we come up with a new criteria of grading these people together.
Think about it. We are all together in this pageant. And there's a Zozi and then there's a me. And then there's another me. Let's say 3 big women in this pageant, and then there are 10 Zozis. Do you think those women that have got the perfect bodies will even treat these ones the same, even in that pageant before they even walk on stage?
But what is a perfect body?
But that's what I'm saying. That's how society has actually done this thing. That's how we've been socialized. Chances, obviously, I'm not saying that would happen, but chances are those women who are confident enough to even enter the pageant, for them to be there, surely they went through other stages and milestones and they were successful. But now when they get to Joburg or whatever the venue is and they have to, they stay in a camp or whatever for a certain period of time before they actually walk on stage and do some activities, likelihood is that they would feel that they're different. I stand to be corrected, but it's highly possible that they would be made to feel different. Obviously, we are emotionally, a level of emotional intelligence here is different. Chances are they could meet good people and not, but I'm thinking that it could even start from there before they actually walk on that stage. I'm not saying that it can happen. Everything must start somewhere.
Yeah, true. So, as I ask these questions, we are now at a level where there is fairness in the game. Obviously, there would have to be people representing women that are plus sized. The panel would be very diverse in itself because I think that is where it starts. And also, I think society is now more open to these things. If we see Dombo Zugo has entered, and she is not as slim as Zozibini, but she ticks many boxes. We would vote for her to be in the top 10, in the top 20, or wherever. Case in point, I attended the Miss Dare to Dream pageant last year.
Yes, you were
there were a lot of beautiful ladies, all of them. From semi-finals to the finals, all of them were super gorgeous. I think you guys did absolutely well in your selection there. And then I was looking at your top 5, top 6, the finalists. All of them were slim. Well, they were actually quite mixed. There were slim ladies, there were what we would regard as plus size and medium ones. And one of the plus size ladies made it to the top 3. So it means that the adjudicators, who are quite diverse, by the way, saw things that other people wouldn't have seen from that lady that was part of the top 3. And in my head, I'm thinking now, if such changes were to be appreciated from as early as pageants like Miss Dare to Dream, we escalate them to Miss PE nationally, internationally. we would eventually get where we want to be.
It has to start somewhere.
So if it was up to me, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what was done after the show, after the pageant, but I don't know. There would be a billboard somewhere showcasing in Motherwell these three ladies who have gotten that far, so that society starts appreciating people of all sizes, of all what do you call it? I almost said races. I don't know what the term is, but to appreciate women generally, not by virtue of their size, but because of who they really are and their beauty. If we are using beauty as our unit of measure in this case, as in this case.
Look, like I said to you, it has to start somewhere. And we are trying our part by ensuring that we're not focusing on your traditional slim. Because one of the elements or of the prizes of the students is that we will sponsor her to register in another pageant in her reign. So we are promoting that they actually penetrate the market or whatever, the pageantry market. So, but also, like I was saying, for us, yes, it's pageantry, but we don't want to focus on that. Now, tell me, even if the number, I think she was second queen. I just forgot her name. Surely being part of the top 3 did something for her.
Yes.
Boost her confidence. I'm not saying this was her first. I know for a fact she was Face of Devotion. She had been part of the winning. So it's not like she was done a favor or anything like that. But surely her profile is building up and she's gaining the momentum. Then that would take her to the next level. It would actually boost her confidence in terms of seeing that I can compete most with the slim models, So that's our small contribution to that change. And we are hoping that it would actually be on a bigger scale at some point, and people will see the vision that we're trying to push across.
Beautiful. And now 21 to 23. You guys are very new in the game.
Very new.
But where do you see yourself in the next decade?
You.
Where would you wish to be?
I remember in 2022, I think 2020, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it was 2022. Our show was hosted at Tramways. So there was this lady I was sitting next to. She is saying, "Yo, this is so beautiful. I wish the people who are organizing the show could actually help the people who was organizing one of the big PE pageants. I don't want to mention names.
Yeah.
Because this, you can feel that you are at a pageant. Everything is organized to the T. And for me, that was a great compliment, because at least in 2023 we did receive some sponsorship. That year there was absolutely nothing except for the municipality that gave us the plant deck and whatever. So our vision is that we want to create a network, a sisterhood for these kids. In all the pageants, we call upon our previous semi-finalists. They are the ones assisting at the door. Sometimes when the coach is not available, they would be the ones attending the class to show the current semi-finalists on how to walk and what to do and all of that. So we are hoping that once they get to tertiary or they are professionals, but there's that sisterhood, that network that they can tap into, whether they're not in PE and they are still in PE or whatever the case might be. So it goes beyond just here. If I then become a boss somewhere, and then I know that in this circle, there's somebody who has finished their studies, but they're not working. So that whole network we are actually creating that. That's the first one. Not just about the foundation, but secondly, we want to be the hope of the girl child. I'm gonna say that at the moment, of saying, "Ish, I'm here because somebody gave me the chance."
Yeah.
Because one of the prizes is a driver's license. Most of these kids come from disadvantaged homes.
Okay.
So you get, after matric, you go to varsity, and then they say one of the requirements is driver's license. Surely your mother is going to decide varsity, driver's license, I'm going to choose school. So you could miss out because you don't have that one requirement that your parents probably could not afford to do. So for us, is basically taking them closer to where they need to get to.
That's very interesting. And I feel like a driver's license nowadays is more like having an ID, especially after the age of 18.
Yes.
But this driver's license thing is very much tricky nowadays because you know in South Africa you pay for everything. So do you like bribe for them?
No.
Jacob
I choose.
Jacob Zuma once said, I met Otlamete. I'm not sure if you know the lady
Yes,
Otlamete.
yes,
I
yes.
met Otlamete and then I gave him money and I said, go and buy a license.
No, we definitely don't buy the license. No, we don't buy.
So what happens when they fail a test?
It's a case in point with this one. That is 2022, 2021, a son. She did her lessons. She's now in Bloom. Studying there. And then when she was here in December, she failed her drivers. So we rebooked and she failed again. I'm not saying this for it to be an embarrassment, but we did book her for her when she's gonna come back home in during the Easter holidays for her to get extra lessons, because the whole point is not for us to say we paid for the lessons, you paid for the test, you failed. If you don't push it, then she's gonna forget, and none of that would have been successful.
Don't you think you would have gotten somewhere if you just paid in John?
Please don't include us in that. Because we don't even go with them, so we're not even at a point of paying in Georgia, even if you wanted to. So because we also don't want to be spoon feeding them too much. That's the one thing I got against. I know Uncle Snat would disagree with me on this one. I always complain that he spoon feeds them for too long. At some point, he must actually try to. I can't be taking you from your house to the traffic department. Find a way to the traffic department. Here's money to pay for the lesson. At some point you must also have some contribution.
We work together.
Yes.
Okay. I see what you're trying to encourage there.
Yeah.
And if you look at the progress of these girls from 2021, if you look at their social standing now, are you happy with what you are seeing?
There has been disappointments. I'm not gonna lie. I know in one of the years semifinals, I think it was during the COVID, she fell pregnant.
That's what I wanted to ask.
She fell pregnant just after the pageant. And from there, we then developed a code of conduct for them to say that if you fall pregnant, they sign it before they actually participate. There's certain rules there. How you must conduct yourself, because you are actually being the face of the brand. And like I said, we work a lot with the parents. Before a child actually enters, the guardian must give consent. When they come for the prejudging, they must be accompanied by the parent. So during the lessons, we make sure that we organize transport, it drops them at home. So I remember, the pregnancy story is another one. And then there's a second one. I think it was the first princess in 2022. The mother complained that so-and-so is not listening. She's not sleeping at home, mail and all of that. So we took the search away. from her, because now we cannot be having a one of the princesses having such a behavior.
Yeah.
Because when you go to these outreach programs, they are the forefront. They're at the forefront. They drive the program. They wear their sashes. Now, a child, because I keep referring to them as kids, because they're old enough to, I could be a mother to most of them. So teenagers are teenagers. They're gonna get up to nonsense, but within bounds, whatever that you do, you would do it respectfully and within certain bounds. So if you do not respect your parent at home, where do we stand a chance to actually try and discipline you? You can't be disciplining a child that has giving their parents a headache. So
I wanted to say the behavior is one I do understand. If somebody is misbehaving, it's fine to take away the title.
sure.
But if I'm 18 years old and then I fall pregnant and I am your ambassador, why is it that you feel a need to take away the title from me? Because I'm 18 and women are expected to fall pregnant. Why are you discriminating against me if I then fall pregnant?
You are 18, you are still your parents' responsibility. You have not finished your studies. How are you going to take care of that child? Yes, you can fall pregnant once you are a responsible adult.
Yeah, but then
And our rules is that you don't fall pregnant while you're still holding the title, and you agree to that.
so it's okay after a year. I'm assuming that you hold the title for about a year.
You are not our. We still encourage. I know. For example, in my previous life, I was responsible for interns. One standing item in the interns meeting was, don't fall pregnant. You are here for 18 months to get development. You've got plenty of time to get pregnant. If you are going to be pregnant in the 18 months, you still have 4 months to stay away. You are actually messing up your life. I'm not against pregnancy. I've got 2 kids, but you have your kids when you are stable and you can take care of the kids, not worrying whether the father is going to be there or not.
The reason why I ask this is because I am at the university, you do know this, and I have interns myself, and I drafted a contract, and in that contract is a line that says, is a clause that says, if you fall pregnant, then there will not be any negotiations. You will be excluded from the program. Now, this is because we use chemicals, we use heavy machines sometimes. So it's just to protect the university and the female student who's doing the internship. But then I was then told that you can't do that because it's a role of a woman to fall pregnant. A man cannot fall pregnant. And after a certain age, women are allowed to fall pregnant. And I think that's about 16, more or less. So if you now say that you will not be allowed to continue, it's discriminating in a way.
No, you are not allowed to do that because of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. I remember when I was saying to the interns that I would say, obviously there were interns that were pregnant. I'm not saying you can't fall pregnant. I can't fire you because you're pregnant. I'm breaking the law. But I'm encouraging you not to fall pregnant.
I hear you.
And as a mentor or your supervisor, I've got 2 interns. I've got this one, a woman that has not fallen pregnant, and then I've got you, who has gone away for 4 months in that 18 months. So you've done 14 months. If there's an opportunity for employment, who am I going to choose? This one. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
You're not going to be fired. But most often than not, contracts got extended. If a person wants to extend their contract because they were away for 4 months for pregnancy, whose problem is that? You could wait until you get permanently employed, then you get pregnant. whether you're married or not. I'm not saying this for people who are unmarried, because there are people who marry young. I'm saying just wait for your career to take off.
Yeah.
Because surely if you don't need your career, you wouldn't be here. You could have been a stay-home wife.
Okay. No, I hear you. One last question. I see our time's up.
Yeah.
One last question. If you were to call for sponsors now, what kind of sponsorship would you say you guys need? And if you were to include a boy child in your programs, what kind of sponsors would you be on the lookout for?
Look, with the current model, no, our main challenge is the cost for the actual pageant, which could run up to about 35,000 just for the event if you want it to be perfect, including the prizes. Okay. But the sponsors would not only be for the pageant. Remember, we're running the outreach programs. So there are things that we would like to do. Like I was saying, we would want to have a camp. We would be having a team building and call for the past girls to be part of that, for them to share their success stories to the ones that are here, to see that actually this thing is real. And to actually, because I remember at some point we had a hiking activity. It was sponsored. So they went hiking. Some of them, it appeared to be a luxury thing that they never thought would happen to them. It's just transport from Motherwell to go. I think it was in the Maitland Trail, but there were games, team building games that were organized. But I think what we're trying to do is the impact that we leave with these girls, the experience for them to actually be in those things. So on the sponsorships, if we had to include the boy child, obviously then that would mean the pageant would be a bigger scale. And I think we would need to tap more into the space of the life coach and the mental coach for both boy and girl. That would need resources. Like I said, all of us are full-time employees, so maybe we then would need somebody who might be dedicated to actually be in that space, and probably need obviously a male coach, because how a person is teaching how the females to walk might not be the same. I'm not a guru in that space, but so those are the things that we would need to actually get into. And surely, if we were to include the boy child, we would then need a male figure, because that's the person that they would relate to and be able to talk to and actually probably look up to as the boy child.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm hoping that somebody is gonna watch this and be touched. Yeah, and
please be touched and
reach
out to us. Our page on Facebook, currently we've been trying to change it. It's always been Miss Dare to Dream. We've been trying to change it to Dare to Dream Foundation. But yeah, currently about anything, we've got a website as well. It's the Dare to Dream Foundation. So yeah.
Okay, I think you should just send me your
I'll send
details
you your links,
and everything,
yes.
and then I'm going to include them as a part of the YouTube recording and the
I'll definitely do that.
The audio podcasts. Thank you so much for being a part of the Harvest Chronicles. I'm hoping that you're a new friend of the Harvest.
No, definitely. Would you be open to the girls being part of the podcast? Maybe the three.
Of course, no problem.
The three amazing. Girls, yeah. We'll just check their availability, and it would be great for them as well, just to also get the confidence going for them. Yeah,
I would truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let's organize. Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you.